Hi, everyone. This is Mayor Nic Hunter, and we're filming this in the afternoon, about 1 o'clock on April the 27th, 2021. And we're discussing a topic today that's very important to locals. And this is one small slice of a large issue that we have here in Southwest Louisiana, and that is the issue of housing in a post-hurricane environment. The direct lease program through FEMA is an excellent tool, and it's something that we want to educate landowners, property owners, landlords on. There has been so much information that's come out for the public, different opportunities and initiatives and programs that they can take advantage of. This conversation today is going to focus more on the landlord or the property owner. How can they take advantage of this program? And I would just like to say, as a mayor, as a citizen, and as a property owner myself, I'm encouraging locals to really give this an intense consideration. If you have units that are coming back online, perhaps not every unit may be appropriate for this program, but even if you open up a small portion of your portfolio, a small portion of your available units for this program, you certainly would be helping this community. And you would be helping people who need to come home and who want to come home and work in this community and raise families and worship in this community. So it's certainly my hope that someone would be inspired by some of the conversation that we have today. With that, I will toss it to Elizabeth Redfern with FEMA. And Ms. Redfern, I will ask you to go ahead and start sharing your presentation, but also why don't you introduce those that have joined from FEMA.
All right, I will be happy to do that. So I am, as previously stated, Elizabeth Redfern. I am the FEMA Direct Housing Task Force lead. Our task force is basically comprised of individual assistance representation as well as logistics. And then we're supported by numerous other partners within the agency and state and local levels to try and accomplish our direct housing mission. So that's me. Let me go around. Jerry, would you like to introduce yourself, please, sir?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Jerry Stoller. I am working in Calcasieu Parish, overseeing the federal recovery efforts. Thank you.
All right, and then who do we have on the line from FEMA Logistics?
I'm Philip Price, and I'm the Logistics Manufactured Housing Unit Lead for this disaster.
All right, and then from within individual assistance, we have our lead for the direct lease option. So let me go ahead and pass it to you to introduce yourself, Dara.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dara Hayes, and I'm the program officer for Direct Lease. And as Liz said, Region 6, I'm with Region 6, and I'm the Direct Lease lead. Thank you.
All right, and then I believe we have one, if not two, contracting officers on the line for direct lease as well. So Marvin and possibly Rachel, if you're on, will you introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Marvin Jennings, contracting officer from headquarters FEMA.
All right, Marvin, is Rachel on? Do you know?
I don't know if she was supposed to, but I don't know if she's on or not.
Okay, that's all right. So that pretty much rounds out the main players that are on the line today as far as FEMA is concerned. Did you want any other introductions, Mayor Hunter, before we go on?
No, let's go ahead and move forward, and then at the end we'll have some time for Q&A.
All right, thank you, sir. So basically what we're going to do today is talk about direct lease, where we're at in the process and how significant it really is. We're very pleased because it at first we were very optimistic about direct lease options, and then it looked like it was not going to pan out. And then it took a wonderful positive turn in the right direction, and units have started coming online. So basically the first slide talks about what is direct lease. So just a kind of high level overview. Basically what FEMA is doing is looking for existing ready for occupancy properties that we can lease from property managers, property owners. These are basically fully furnished, ready to live in units. They're typically not necessarily properties that are normally available to the public. It might actually be a traditional rental, but when you put in the furnishings and all, it kind of changes the description of the property. We're looking for owners who are willing to provide both property management and maintenance services. It is important to recognize that all the units have to meet HUD housing quality standards. We've had a number of units offered to us that didn't, such as properties more along the lines of like responder lodging, where there's shared kitchens among multiple households, or shared shower and restroom facilities. So these have to be fully standalone housing units where the residence has its own kitchen, its own bathroom. It's not shared like in a pod situation. They need to be in the declared disaster area. So obviously today we're really focused on where the bulk is needed, and that's Calcasieu Parish. The monthly rent has to basically be at or below the fair market rental rate. And that is negotiated with our contracting officer. The unit needs to be located within reasonable commuting distance for the family of where they were at the time of the disaster, and to ensure that the wraparound services they require are there. It might be religious in nature, it might be education, just basically where did they work, where did they live, and is this location within a reasonable commuting distance of those types of services, not to mention your obvious things like grocery stores and gas stations and things like that. So, and then lastly, we can add additional funds to be able to make some modifications to the unit if needed to try and accommodate access and functional needs. It's typically more about grab bars and ramps and things like that, as opposed to major structural changes. As far as the direct lease timeline, there are basically 3 sections to it: the identification process, the procurement and inspection process, and then the license in process. So when you look through these, kind of, again, sort of high level overview, we're looking for applicants that this solution might work for. Where do those units need to be located? How many bedrooms? What are their access and functional needs? Do they have their own transportation, or do they rely on public transportation? So we're essentially creating a profile of the households. Then we begin looking at where might there be properties? Where might there be options to house the applicants? And then basically identifying what our needs are, and then asking our property managers to try and find those locations. And I will say, and I'll give the contact information at the end, we have secured, we have made arrangements with 4 different property managers who are essentially representing us and going out and identifying properties and presenting it to them. So we essentially give them, based on the profiles of the applicants, we say we're looking for properties along these lines in this area, and then they go and search for those properties, identify those, and submit them to us. That is actually part of our request for quote process, where once we tell them what we need, they go out, they find the properties, they submit them within the time frame that we've prescribed. If we have applicants who are a good match for the units that are submitted, then we can do a notice to secure those units back to the contractor, and then see. Now, you guys probably know better than me, but it's a highly competitive rental market. So we definitely find that we are trying to hurry to the extent that we possibly can, but there are often times that as fast as we go, the unit may no longer be available, and it was one that we were really hoping to get. But so we do that notice to secure in the hopes that they can get it. If they do get it, then we can do an inspection and confirm that it really is ready for occupancy by having our logistics task monitors go out and check, inspect it. And they just basically do a walkthrough like you would do for a HUD property. And then finally, once we have it actually leased, then we contact the applicant to confirm that they are still wanting the unit. They would need to do the background check directly with the project, with the property manager, and they will have to do a lease agreement with the property manager, as well as sign FEMA's license in agreement, which essentially, as long as we're paying the rent, we're going to need to meet with them at a minimum monthly to make sure that they're making progress on their permanent housing plan. And then we track all that information in our system of record. That last note on there, basically NEMIS and Homes are our databases. This shows overall a couple of options that we have. So one thing that we did early on was a lease directly with Mosswood. We did not go through our normal process because this one was sizable enough and readily available. Basically made the decision as the agency, it was a little quicker to just do a direct lease. This is the only property we've done it with. Mosswood Estates there in Sulphur, Louisiana, had 300 units that they were willing to lease to us. All but about 39 of them needed repairs. So slowly but surely, they have brought those, as you can see on here, they have brought those units back online. And then as we've had a continuing need, we lease them in different groups. So they first offered us 39 units, and then later you can see 36 and so on. And most recently, 15 were added to the contract last week, and bringing us to, so far, we've leased 209 of their units, and they have 91 more that they are working on that they would like to offer to us. Along the way, we've leased in 182 families into units. 4 of them actually moved out. So you see in the technically third column, vacated units. So we licensed them in and then did a move out inspection on some of the earlier on ones because they, for whatever reason, chose to move on to something, another housing option, or maybe their home was ready. We really focused on owners going into this property. So a lot of them have finished their repairs along the way. But anyway, so the logistics team has completed the inspections on 212 units, because if somebody moves out and they clean it up, we have to re-inspect it to make sure it's ready to be occupied by another family. So because of the move outs, we know we have more RFO inspections than we do leased units for that reason. But anyway, units pending, ready for occupancy. We have 1 very recently vacated unit that we're waiting on Mosswood to finish the cleanup so we can inspect it. And currently we have 30 units that we are working to, these are yesterday's numbers. So there were some yesterday morning. So there's some families who licensed in yesterday. Every day there's a few more. So, but at the time of this report, there were 30 vacant units available. So the property is allowed to do their own background check, which Mosswood does at no charge for everybody in that household 18 or up. So sometimes once we get a lease, we're still waiting a little bit for applicants to finish up the background check process. As far as our open bid, where we're working through our property management companies, we have asked, these are RFQ, which is requests for quotes. So you can see we've pretty steadily been asking for different requests for quotes, 8 different ones. We have a 9th one pending to be issued. The number of units requested is basically within the group that we're going to be offering, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of sneak peek that on this next slide. But you can see in RFQ 1, we asked for them to find any properties they could locate in these 16 zip codes. So we tried to start with some areas where we're having some challenges, finding commercial parks, finding housing solutions on private sites. And so when you look at that, you can see they're basically all zip codes from Allen and Beauregard. So there were 45 total applicants we had listed, hoping we could find a match for. The vendors were unable to find anything. When you look at, we'll do a different example. Let's actually look at RFQ 5. 184 applicants. When we go to RFQ 5, you can see that those were Calcasieu and Cameron, specifically 70607. And we really needed units there, some of the hardest hit areas. There were 184 prospective applicants. They were able to find 82 units. We were able to identify 35 applicants. However, again, highly competitive market, we were only able to secure basically asked the vendors to secure 7 of those units that were still actually available to us. All of those applicants have done their background checks, and now we're in the process, hopefully, of getting additional units and available to license in, and then actually move the families in. So the red numbers just indicate for me what's changed in the last 24 hours. Each time we look at the report, it just shows me what has actually changed since the previous report. But that shows basically where we're at, that we are shooting for some pretty big numbers, and these are repeats. So when you look at the request for quotes, it's like at first we were just blanketing, try to find us anything in these zip codes. Starting on request for quote number 7, we started getting more specific in saying we need something close to these 3 damaged dwelling addresses in Allen, these 8 addresses in Beauregard, and trying to really be specific, these in Repeats, these in Acadia. And then you can see RFQ 8, we did the same thing, to where we're not going broadly, we're trying to be very specific. We are targeting finding housing for these very specific families. So the results basically vary, but it is improving the numbers that they can find. And then we have kind of ironed out our own process of trying to act very, very quickly to find applicants that match, which we already have that head start on. So, you know, RFQ 7, they found 15 units they thought might work, but a lot of times it's about bedroom size. So they may have found a lot of 1 or 2 bedrooms, but it might have been a bigger family that needed 3 or 4 bedrooms. So it doesn't always go exactly the way we want. We're just trying to cast the net and find what we can find. As in terms of the properties, this just shows a list and a very nice corresponding match of where we've been able to secure the bulk of our units. So you can see the pinpoints on the map. And we just obviously need a lot more, and that's what that slide 6 is about. And then slide 8 basically gives you the information, the email addresses for the 4 vendors that we are working with that are trying to identify property owners or property managers that are willing to allow FEMA to use their units. And they basically, the contracting officer basically works with these 4 partners. Anytime someone gives us a referral, you know, here's a piece of property that might be of interest, then we send it out to all 4 of these to see if they can potentially solicit interest from that owner. So I'll leave that slide up so you can get that information. The only other slide is just simply a discussion slide, but I'm going to leave it here and turn it back to the mayor for any questions.
Thank you, Liz. I have a couple questions, and while I'm asking my questions, if anyone else does, just put in the chat that you have a question or what that question is, and I'll call upon you. We'll try and keep it concise and keep it rolling. Is there a standard length of time for the term of the lease, Liz?
All right, I'm going to actually direct that question over to Marvin, our contracting officer.
Yes, sir. Hey, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we generally have the period of performance for the lease as 12 months, but we're doing them in 6-month increments at the current time, and it's kind of based on when the declaration is kind of projected to end.
Okay, so
Which-
a landlord would have at minimum a 6-month lease at this juncture?
Yes, sir. At minimum 6-month leave at this juncture. Yeah.
Okay, Liz, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to point out that currently the declaration end for, in terms of the period of assistance for Laura ends February 28th, 2022, and for Delta, April 16th, 2022. So that's why he's working backwards from, to not exceed that date.
Okay, understood. Thank you. I'll open up the floor if anyone has any questions. Again, we wanted to keep this concise. We didn't want this to be too long of a presentation because we know everyone's time is valuable. And if we don't have any questions from anyone else, we'll go ahead and conclude. And again, I will say that as mayor, this is an initiative that I am very hopeful that locals will see some value in. And I'm very hopeful that some landlords will see some value in this and understand that by opening up some of your properties, certainly I have never known a check from FEMA to bounce. Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a pretty secure check when it reaches your mailbox, that it will go through the bank. But also it's not only about the money, it's about helping people. And I do believe that locally, as property owners, as landlords, when we open up one of our units to this program, we're helping people come home. And I think that's a very worthy endeavor. So to everyone from FEMA, I thank you for joining. Jerry, anyone from FEMA, any parting closing comments?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to ask Liz or Marvin to comment a little bit more on the fair market rate. I believe there have been some recent developments on that might be of interest to some of the property owners. Liz or Marvin?
Okay.
And I'll defer to Marvin on that one, please.
Well, Liz, I don't have the updated fair market rate chart table, so I don't have those numbers per se. But I will say that we are. If you look at the HUD website, we've been approved to do up to 200% of that rate, and so I don't have the exact numbers within the table based on all the parishes.
Yeah, so he cut out a little bit. So just to repeat him, if you look at HUD's website for fair market rental rates for the specific area, for the specific bedroom size, we are currently authorized to go to 200%. The other piece that I would add in is that's probably crucial is we have been crunching numbers as we are working to refine exactly who our population is, and know that we have households that are essentially queued up for properties we've already leased. And then we have applicants who are queued up waiting. They will not fit into a travel trailer. They really need a mobile home or a direct lease unit. And we are doing a major outreach that started yesterday to try to identify applicants that may have fallen into the cracks, for lack of a better phrase, that we want to make sure are properly looped into the system and put into the queue for a unit. And we currently only have basically 15 mobile home units to spare in terms of actual commercial park pads, not the units themselves. So it's crucial that we find as many direct lease properties as possible, because we are anticipating a little bit of a surge anyway on applicants who maybe thought they could go their own way and it's not really panning out. So that's the only other piece that I would add in, is that we are very much in need. We're only anticipating above Mosswood, maybe 25 to 30 direct lease units right now. So anything more that we can get in is definitely going to be a major cure and help for this housing issue in the parish.
Excellent. Thank you, Liz. Liz, why don't we close with, if people, and we'll put this in the text when we post this, but if people want to find out more information about this program, where should they go?
They can reach out to Jerry. Do you want to give your information? We're pretty much trying to keep everything circulated through you, sir. and into us in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I'm in constant contact with the mayor and his staff, and so I can be reached. But certainly, the vendors that you see on the screen are really the primary points of contact. If you're interested in doing business with us, your first stop should be with one of these vendors that you see on the screen.
All right, thank you, Jerry. So if anyone out there is interested in this program, want to find out more information, please contact one of these direct lease vendors. Everyone, we appreciate your time. Thank you for participating. God bless.